What's up, YouTube? Wanted to make a video about calories. I think there's a lot of confusion out there with a lot of videos because I've even heard some people say, "Oh, uh, calories don't matter," or a calorie isn't just a calorie. So I wanted to make a video really breaking down and explaining why calories are everything when it comes to weight loss and why it's really important to pay attention to your calories. The truth is, all these diets they work, right? If you're talking about the keto diet, you're talking about low fat diet, low carb diet, whatever, the Atkins diet, whatever kind of diet, they all work. And the main reason why they work is because you're getting rid of one of the two major sources of calories when it comes to macronutrients, right? Your macros, it's either going to be proteins, fats, or carbs. And usually the ones with the highest calories are going to be what? They're going to be your carbs and they're going to be your fats. So a lot of these diets they aim at removing one of those two. But at the end of the day, what that does is it helps you, sustain a caloric deficit to burn, you know, less calories than what you need, And so ultimately, that's the goal. And so as long as you stay in a caloric deficit, you're gonna reach your goal. Like you're gonna lose weight, right? And that's the whole point. Calories. At the end of the day, a calorie is a unit of measurement, right? Uh, Let's look at gas that you put in your car. How do you measure it? If you're here in the U.S., you measure gas that you put in your car in gallons. If you're in Europe, maybe in liters, right? Somewhere else. That's how it works. Now, can that be composed of something else? Of course, right? Obviously. It's just like a mile, a centimeter, an inch, a foot, a yard, whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, it's a unit of measurement, and that's what calories are. And that's how we measure the energy that we put inside of our bodies. The fuel that we use every day in the form of food, we measure in calories. And so once you start counting calories, it's going to be a lot easier to lose weight, guys. And all you got to do is go on YouTube. You can go on Google and use a calorie calculator. It's free. They're going to ask you for your age, your height, your weight, and then it'll do everything for you. It'll tell you how many calories you need to eat in order to either maintain or to lose weight. And after that, once you start doing that, that's already a great start. You're already gonna see a lot of like really good results just from counting your calories, and you're gonna start to realize which foods have a lot of calories and which don't. And obviously, uh, when it gets when it comes to losing weight, you're gonna want to stick to plant-based whole foods, right? You're gonna want to stick to natural ingredients. You're gonna want to stay away from the processed foods, right? So anything that's processed is usually going to have a higher amount of calories, and it's not going to be satiating, right? Because they want you to buy more. So you're going to want to stick to plant-based whole foods, chicken, rice, some lean meats, fish. Fish is also really good. There's a lot of really tilapia, that's really good. And then whenever you're buying your groceries, you need to buy with purpose, right? If your goal is to stick to 1,500 calories or 1,800 calories, whatever your goal is, based off, because it's going to be unique for every single person. Not everyone's going to be able to get the same results with the same amount of calories. So you're going to have to take that into consideration. So whenever you go shopping, you need to make sure that there needs to be purpose for what you select, right, at the grocery store. So if I'm going to buy, and you need to make it simple, make it boring. Make the same meal every day. That's what I do. For me, it's burgers. I like eating burgers. It's easy. So I do fish burgers. And that's how I was able to lose a lot of weight. And I just made sure that it fit within my calories. But it doesn't mean you have to stay away from processed foods completely. You can still eat some Oreos or some Chips Ahoy cookies or whatever it is that you're into, once in a while it's fine. As long as it fits within, your caloric intake. Another thing you have to pay attention to is macros. Yeah, you want to eat the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, and the right amount of carbs. And if you want to be really meticulous about it and you're really serious about losing weight, like you're really, dead ass, you want to lose a shit ton of weight, get yourself a scale and start weighing your food. That is the cheat code for losing weight. You get a scale, you start weighing exactly how much you're using, and you're going to see amazing results. And then that's going to open up more doors for you guys, because then you're going to start to realize, oh shit, every time I go out to eat, once you start counting calories, you're going to start realizing, oh shit, when I go out to eat, I'm eating 1,500 calories in this meal. Like, fuck. Oh shit, if I go out to eat twice a day, I'm eating like 3,000 calories. You'll start to realize that, oh, this is way too many calories in what I need, and you'll start to realize how difficult it is to lose weight when you're going out to eat all the time. Because the truth is, it's an estimate when they put on the menu, this has this many calories. If you're going to, McDonald's all the time, or Whataburger, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, whatever the place is, right? You'll start to realize that, it's an estimate. You don't know if the cook is really, measuring everything out. So you don't know exactly what you're putting inside your body. Whereas when you cook at home, you know exactly what you're putting inside your. If you meal prep, even better, right? You'll save even more time. But honestly, you don't even have to meal prep, because now they even sell like chicken that's already cooked, grilled, shrimp that's already cooked. You just throw it on the skillet, a little bit of, I'll spray olive oil on there. You're good to go. Like, it's not that complicated, guys. Like, it's actually pretty simple. The truth is, you can lose weight even going out to eat every day. You can, but it'll be difficult. The analogy that I'd like to give is, like, for example, if you want to go out all the time to eat and lose weight, it's the equivalent of trying to run a mile. Let's say your goal is just to run a mile. You're trying to run a mile uphill instead of running downhill. If you stick to plant-based whole foods, you're running that mile downhill. Which one's easier? Obviously, it's easier to run downhill. You're going to want to run downhill. You're not going to want to run uphill. So it's going to be a lot harder. So if you're always going out to eat, you're basically, trying to run uphill all the time. And it's going to be difficult. It can be done, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is calories. But it's going to be harder. And another thing is lifting weights. If you lift weights, it's going to be a lot easier you're going to look better, because you're going to retain a lot more muscle, and you'll be building muscle as you're losing weight, and more of that weight that you're going to lose is going to be fat. You can lose weight just being in a caloric deficit, right? You don't have to work out, but working out is going to help you look better, period. It's just simple. It's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, a calorie is a calorie. A calorie of Oreos, a calorie of broccoli, yeah, they're not composed of the same thing, but a calorie is a calorie, which means you can eat those Oreos and still be in a caloric deficit. You just have to be really vigilant. Oreos have a shit ton of calories, so you got to be careful. Don't deprive yourself. Make it so that you can do it consistently. That means, what I like to do, I weigh my food. I even weigh the sugar that I put in my coffee in the morning. Right, 10 grams of sugar in my espresso in the morning. I even weigh that. Sometimes 11, sometimes 12. But I weigh, if I know that I'm gonna want to eat, some sort of snack, I save it for the end of the night, and I won't add sugar to my coffee in the morning. That way I can have that sugar later on. You choose when you want your macros. If you don't believe what I'm saying, just look at bodybuilders. Look at what they do. Look at Chris Bumstead. What does he do? He weighs all of his food. He weighs all of it. He's very meticulous. Obviously, we don't have to be as meticulous as him, because we're not bodybuilders. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up. When it comes to protein intake, you don't have to eat a gram per pound of body weight. It's a gram per pound of lean body mass. So if you're 5'4", 300 pounds, you're not going to eat 300 grams of protein, right? Whatever your lean body mass is for 5'4", that's what you're going to eat. You're not going to be eating 300 grams of protein. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, at the end of the day, it has to be sustainable, guys. And there are hacks to this, for like potatoes, boiling potatoes, not fried, right? You boil potatoes are one of the most satiating foods that you can eat. They will keep you fuller longer, which is really good, and they're low in calories, right? Obviously, depending on how you make them. If you're frying them, yeah, they're not gonna be low in calories. But if you boil them and then you just add a little bit of seasoning on top, I'm big on salt. I like salt. You do that, you're gonna be just fine. It'll be easier to lose weight. You'll start to realize that how easy it is to lose weight when you stick to whole foods, and when you focus more on protein in your diets. And also, whenever you start doing this, right, you start counting your calories, you start counting your macros, and pay attention to how much protein you're eating, how many grams of protein, fats, and carbs. You'll be able to mess around with your macros more, and you'll be able to be like, oh, you know what? Today, let's say I'm going to play basketball. Okay, I'm going to carb up a little bit more. That way I'll have more energy, and I'll be able to play really well, And then the days that you're not going to be as active, maybe you're not putting in 10,000 steps, on those days where you're pretty sedentary, like, don't eat as many carbs, focus more on protein, and don't eat too much fat, and you'll be fine. And for me, my hack for me personally was tilapia burgers. Frozen tilapia, thaws out in like 5 minutes. Cook it 4 minutes on each side on the skillet with a little bit of olive oil, and then I use the keto buns. I'm not on a keto diet, right? But I bought the keto buns because it's more protein. That's all, just because it aligns more with how I want my macros, right? I'm trying to focus more on protein so I can preserve more muscle, which is what you want to do, right? Well, maybe some of you don't want to do. Some of you maybe you just want to lose weight. Period. Whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, guys, it's calories. All these diets work. The keto diet, the fucking, the low-fat diet, Mediterranean diet. All these diets, they all work, but it's all about calories. And the sooner you start tracking the calories, the better. The sooner, the better.